Welcome to the Deep Dive. Today, we're looking at something pretty uniquely American, I think. These 4th of July drinking shirts, but featuring U.S. presidents.
Right. Not your standard flag tee, definitely.
Exactly. Forget the usual flags and fireworks just for a second. Our mission here is to kind of explore why these, well, quirky items have popped up.
Yeah, what's the deal with them?
What do they tell us about, American culture and how we celebrate Independence Day? We're using an article from PixelPulse Fashion as our guide here. It's called Presidential Patriotism and Pints.
Okay. It sounds like it gets right to the point. President's patriotism, pints.
It does. So what's really interesting right off the bat is how these shirts layer historical figures, pretty serious figures sometimes, with this very casual, modern activity, drinking.
Yeah, it makes you think, doesn't it, how we relate to these icons beyond the history books or, the big marble statues.
Totally. So if you're maybe thinking about what to wear this 4th, or if you've ever chuckled at the idea of, say, Lincoln having a beer.
Or Franklin, maybe.
Or Franklin. Yeah. Then this deep dive is definitely for you. We're not just talking about, throwaway novelty shirts.
No, the idea seems to be they're more than that.
Right. Potential conversation starters, maybe? A mix of respect and fun, and maybe even what the article calls stealth education.
Stealth education, I like that. Sneaking in some history with the humor.
Okay, so let's start with the trend itself. The PixelPulse piece, it really highlights that these President 4th of July shirts are getting more visible, especially the drinking ones. They stand out from the usual sea of red, white, and blue. They add this bit of personality, a kind of self-aware humor.
Like the example in the article, the brother-in-law.
Yeah, exactly. The author mentions their brother-in-law shifting towards wearing a Lincoln beer shirt. It's a small thing, but it shows that evolution, doesn't it?
It does. It suggests people want to express patriotism, maybe, but in a way that feels less stuffy, more aligned with how we actually celebrate relaxing, socializing.
Being with friends and family.
Right. And putting these historical figures in that context, having a drink, it kind of humanizes them, makes them feel a bit more relatable, like they're celebrating with us.
It absolutely does. And the article really hammers this point. These shirts are instant icebreakers.
Like wearing your conversation topic.
Exactly. There's this story about a history teacher. He uses his collection to get students talking about history. That's the stealth education bit in action.
That's pretty clever, actually. Using humor to open the door.
And there are other stories, too. From barbecues, parties. They just seem to spark chats. You can just imagine someone seeing, a Washington drinking shirt and just having to comment.
Well, yeah. Because food and drink are so central to how we celebrate in the U.S., right? Especially holidays like the 4th.
Totally. Burgers, beers.
So the shirts tap into that shared experience. It's like a visual cue that says, hey, I'm here to celebrate, have fun, and maybe, just maybe, appreciate a little history with a twist.
The article has a fun name for it. The Perfect American Trifecta. Presidents, beer, and independence.
Yeah.
It argues these shirts cleverly weave together respect for history, or a lot of celebrating often with beer, and just the whole spirit of the 4th.
It makes sense when you put it like that.
And they give examples, like a beer garden seeing sales jump 35% after introducing custom 4th of July beer shirts, or a dad making new friends just because he was wearing a Ben Franklin drinking tea.
See, it shows they resonate. They're tapping into something real about American culture, that mix of seriousness and, well, fun.
It's definitely a way to engage with these, sometimes quite heavy historical figures in a lighter way. Maybe makes them feel less distant.
More accessible, perhaps, less intimidating than a textbook.
Okay, so the article gets specific about some designs. This is the fun part. First up, the beer drinking 4th of July, drinking like Franklin t-shirt.
Ah, Franklin, of course.
Presented as like the ultimate party shirt. Something Ben himself might have cooked up.
Given his reputation, yeah, I can see that.
There's this great story about someone wearing it and getting into a whole 20-minute discussion with a history buff about Franklin's known appreciation for beverages.
See? Conversation starter.
And naturally, they mentioned the quote, maybe real, maybe not about beer, being proof God loves us.
That quote is everywhere, so putting it on the shirt is instant, recognizable humor.
Plus, they mentioned it's durable. Survives, spills, washes. Practical.
Always a bonus for a party shirt.
Then there's the drinking like Lincoln beer drinking 4th of July president t-shirt.
Okay, Lincoln. That's a different vibe. More revered, maybe.
Right. And the article frames it as humorous but respectful. Like it gives you permission to have fun but still respect history.
A balancing act.
Apparently, these shirts sparked debates about what kind of beer Lincoln would drink.
Oh, that's fun. What's the verdict?
Consensus seems to be something substantial. No watery light stuff for Honest Abe. The article calls it a badass shirt that avoids being disrespectful.
Yeah, it works because Lincoln is usually seen as so serious, so monumental. Picturing him with a beer adds that human touch. Makes him relatable, not just an icon. The beer debate is a perfect example of that imaginative engagement.
Next, the funny George Washington 4th of July President t-shirt.
Oh, Washington. Another serious one.
This one shows him, like, kicking back with a beer after crossing the Delaware or something.
A well-deserved break.
And the article cleverly points out Washington was actually a whiskey distiller.
Oh, right. I forgot about that. So there's a real historical link there to drinking culture.
Exactly. Adds a layer of, like, hey, this isn't totally random. And apparently people have gotten free beers just for wearing this shirt. Bonus.
Huh. The shirt pays for itself. It plays with his stoic image, makes him seem more approachable, maybe even a bit mischievous.
Then, bringing it more current, there's the Make 4th of July Great Again Trump beer drinking t-shirt.
Ah, okay, that one's definitely contemporary. And potentially divisive.
Yeah, the article presents it as a novelty item that can spark laughter, but maybe also debate. But interestingly, it gives an example where it actually helped family members with different politics connect over the shared humor.
So the idea being, maybe for this one day, the focus is just on the celebration.
That seems to be the interpretation, prioritizing the party over politics, just for the 4th.
It shows how even current figures get pulled into this kind of humorous remixing. It's interesting how humor can sometimes act as a temporary bridge, even if it's just a t-shirt joke.
And the last one mentioned is the USA President Lincoln America 4th of July t-shirt.
Another Lincoln.
Yeah, but this one sounds like it leans more into the original American badass angle. Good for barbecues, parades, whatever.
So more about that kind of rugged, patriotic vibe.
Seems like it. The article notes it hits a nice balance. It's a novelty, sure, but also just wearable fashion. And again, they mention it's durable.
That wearability factor seems important. People want something fun, but also something they can actually, wear more than once.
Absolutely. And going beyond just the laughs, the article really pushes this idea that the shirts genuinely create connections.
Right. Back to the conversation starter idea.
Yeah, that story about the Franklin shirt leading to an hour-long chat with a retired history professor, that really nails it.
It really does.
And even bridging divides in families through just shared humor. I mean, that's pretty significant for a t-shirt, isn't it?
It absolutely is. It highlights that social aspect of clothing. What we wear sends signals, invites interaction, and here, the surprise factor, the president, and the beer that's the hook.
So if you're thinking of getting one, the article gives some fun advice, like choose based on your Independence Day vibe.
Your vibe. Okay.
Like maybe darker colors if you're on grill duty, prone to spills.
Practical advice.
Or brighter, more dynamic designs if you're going to be more active. And it even floats the idea of building a collection, making it part of your annual tradition.
Oh, interesting. Like people become known for their specific presidential drinking shirt each year.
Yeah, exactly. It elevates them from just an impulse buy to something more like a personal commemorative item, tied to memories, rituals.
I could see that.
Quality also gets a mention, which, is fair. Sometimes holiday stuff can be pretty flimsy.
True. You wear it once, wash it, and it falls apart.
But the article emphasizes these shirts are pretty resilient. They stand up to barbecue sauce, beer spills, the usual 4th of July hazards.
Again, practical. It suggests they're meant to last, not just be a one-off gag. There's value there.
And finally, the gift factor. If you're stuck for a gift idea.
For that person who has everything.
Right. Or is just hard to shop for.
Yeah.
The article suggests these shirts are actually great gifts. It tells about a brother-in-law, usually hard to please, who genuinely loved his Lincoln shirt and actually wore it.
That's the real test of a gift, isn't it? Does it get used?
Totally. It seems they hit this sweet spot, appealing to history fans, beer lovers, patriotic folks. And unlike some novelty gifts that end up in a drawer, these apparently get worn, become signature summer looks.
It makes sense. They're lighthearted, relatable, tap into shared interests. A pretty safe bet for a fun gift.
So wrapping this up, it's clear these presidential drinking shirts are, well, more than just a gag for the 4th of July.
Yeah, definitely seems that way.
They tap into this really specific part of American identity, pride in history, but also loving a good celebration, and having a sense of humor about it all.
That blend of reverence and revelry we talked about.
Exactly. They act as these unexpected conversation starters, connecting people, even sparking little history lessons. And the focus on quality suggests they might stick around as part of people's traditions.
What I find really interesting is how these simple objects, these shirts, become a lens, a way to look at our relationship with the past, with national identity, but in a really informal, maybe more engaging way for some people.
Yeah, it invites you to think about these big historical figures differently.
Makes them less
Instant. Right. Which leads us to a final thought for you, the listener. We've seen how these pretty lighthearted shirts can spark conversations about history, maybe even bridge some family divides. So what other unexpected ways might everyday things, fashion, objects, whatever, be shaping how we understand our national identity, how we interact with each other?
That's a great question.
Maybe what we choose to wear, especially on a day like Independence Day, says more about our cultural landscape than we even realize. Something to think about.
Definitely something to chew on.
Thanks for diving deep with us today.